Good morning. My name is Curtis Smith. I live in Cliffcrest with my spouse and a house full of pets. I served for 24 years as an officer in the Canadian Forces, and I currently work as a lawyer with a professional regulator in downtown Toronto. The leadership skills I obtained in the Canadian Forces, combined with the advocacy skills that I have as a lawyer, make me an outstanding choice to represent you in what is going to be a vastly different City Hall. Thank you.
We'll start with you.
Okay, thank you. The short answer to that question is engagement. I want an ongoing relationship with the residents of Scarborough Southwest. I want to go to City Hall with a clear and concise mandate of what residents actually want. I would love it if I was able to push the agendas of any meetings that I would be attending as councillor out to the residents before I actually attended to them, so I could get some input from them. Both in the military and in the legal jobs that I have had over the course of my career, this type of early engagement was encouraged and was greatly beneficial. One example of the early engagement that I'd like to suggest is in regards to the Planning Act Section 37 funds that we can get from developers when new buildings are being developed. These funds are meant to address local community projects. The guidelines for these funds say that there should be predetermined projects that are on a list so that you can fund them when you actually get the money. I cannot find any record of this type of consultation happening in Ward 20, and I would suggest this is just one example of a lack of engagement that I would rectify immediately.
Curtis.
Thank you. I would suggest that the overarching issue is public safety itself, and I look at a very wide definition of what constitutes public safety, everything from gun violence down to as many of the traffic things that have been mentioned here already. There's all sorts of secondary issues that flow out of that, and these are the root causes that we're talking about. We need to look at poverty and poverty reduction. We need to look at smart development that makes affordable housing and well-designed communities. We need to have economic development so businesses can thrive, so we can have jobs, and we can have services. We also need the roads, the transit, and the other infrastructure so that people can move around in our ward appropriately. I believe that we need to look at every initiative that City Council has under the lens of public safety. And I have experience in that from my peace building efforts when I served in Afghanistan as a legal advisor. That is how we made most of our decisions. Residents want a councillor with this ability, and I think that's how we have to focus any decisions that we make in the upcoming election and beyond. Thank you. Thank you. I also take TTC, so I can speak from a certain level of experience here. We're going to be 7 for 7. I do agree with keeping transit public here, not privatizing it. In order to keep the decisions at the lowest level and to be able to make tweaks to the TTC, we need to keep it at our level at the City of Toronto. The only way we're going to be able to appropriately and quickly look at fares to make it affordable for people, the way we can make amendments to routes is to keep it at the local level. If it goes provincial or even privatized, we're not going to be able to have that amount of ability to make changes. Now, the province should play a role in this. I will completely go along that. They should be supplying some money because that is part of their mandate as the province. And they could also assist in any coordination between municipalities so that we can get Cross into Durham or Peel or whatever else we need for the transit so that it is effective for people coming into Toronto proper. Thank you.
Well, the next question your way to begin with. City services include policing and road maintenance, garbage collection, recreation, parks. Would you support property tax increases to improve services in your ward, or are the services fine as they are?
I don't think the services are fine as they are. I think we do need to make amendments. If we aspire to be a city of the future, we're going to need to make investments. So it's a question of how we get the money to make those investments. There's lots of talk about how we get more revenue within the City of Toronto. Property taxes may have to go up somewhat. We've tried to keep them capped to the rate of inflation. I would prefer not to raise them, but there may be a requirement to do that. But that would come through consult with the local residents to ensure that it is palatable. But what we need to look at is looking at getting some more revenue from other places. For instance, and I'm not advocating this, but one of the suggestions was tolls to get some roads going. We should get some more user pay things. If you are using a service, perhaps you should have to pay for it, and that could be done on an income-based scale. If you can afford it, maybe you should pay for it. So property taxes are a tough one because we do pay a lot of property taxes, but that is just one of the major revenue streams, and we may have to consider looking at raising it slightly. Again, limiting it as much as we possibly can. Thank you.